So Freeman, if you want to, oh, I see. Okay, we're recording now. Just a few housekeeping measures. If you could keep your lines muted to cut out any background noise. And if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand or you can type them in the chat box. We have a guest that's going to be joining us shortly. Her name is Christy Goad. And let me see if she's on here already. Oh, she is. Hey, Christy. And just before we get started, I just wanted to give a little bit of an explanation of why we're having this session, Words Matter. As you all have seen in recent months, the rhetoric has really been elevated at a national level around politics. And we've just seen some very ugly things posted on Facebook, Twitter, and that's not what we need in the mental health community. Mental health is a bipartisan issue. Everybody's affected by it. It affects Democrats, Republicans, the rich, the poor. And I thought it would be worthwhile to have just a quick 1 hour training on how to pick the right words to say and the use of social media to talk about legislation and policy and how to reach your legislator. So I will introduce Christy. So she is the founder and chief fire starter at a healthcare specialist marketing agency called Fuoco, and that's Italian for fire. I believe that's right. And so she calls herself the chief fire starter. So I've known Christy for quite some time. She was a former newspaper reporter with me at the Nashville Banner when I guess it was in the 90s when we worked together. She was a political reporter. Actually, I replaced her at the Nashville Banner covering the Sunquist administration. And then she went on to be a gubernatorial speechwriter and press secretary for Governor Sunquist. She was head of corporate communications for a publicly traded healthcare company. And for the last 13 years has been working on the agency side. So we're going to hear from Christy about the role that social media can play in reaching out to legislators. Thanks for being here, Christy.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So I know we had talked about, various questions around the use of social media with legislators. So like the first question I have is, do legislators really care about what you say on social media?
My answer to that is a resounding yes.
Okay.
Legislators, well, I think most people would care what you say about them on social media, but I think legislators in particular, they care about what is said about them or the conversation in the news media, and social media has become, as powerful, if not more powerful than the media. So I think they absolutely care. I think they pay very close attention to it, some more than others probably, but yes, they care, and yes, they follow it, and they're most likely, they or their staff is very engaged with it.
Okay. Should you post directly on a legislator's Facebook page? Like, I've got my own personal page, and I've got some legislators who are friends with me on Facebook. So should I post, say, a policy issue, like, hey, where do you stand on 10-care expansion? Should I kind of like be that out front and aggressive, I guess?
Well, I think I would view Facebook like I would any of their social channels. If they have official pages on Facebook, which most of them do, it's not like it's their personal Facebook, it's their official, legislative page. So if they have a page like that, and I think it's completely appropriate, and yes, and some are more active on Facebook, some are more active on Twitter. Some have Instagram accounts, some have LinkedIn accounts. So I think any of those where they have an official page, it's appropriate. And what we tell our clients, we develop a lot of social media content for our clients, and each platform has a slightly different personality, I guess, if you will, or certain rules around it. And so if it's content a lot of times if it's content that you want that legislator to know about or be engaged with, then you can put that one piece of content, that topic, across all their channels. So if they're more engaged on one than another, or maybe some people are following them on Facebook, but they're not on Twitter, you know. So I think it's any of those opportunities are opportunities for you to create that relationship with them, to engage with them. And so my answer to that is yes. My long answer to that is yes.
Okay, I'm going to say, have a for instance here. So say, for instance, a legislator posts something about in opposition of TennCare expansion. You know, to me, that's fair game to respond and provide input. I mean, as long as you do it in a respectful way, right? Like, I might want to say, well, Senator, I respectfully disagree. Here are some statistics about why TennCare would be helpful for people in the mental health community. And here's some background that you might want to read from NAMI, Tennessee. Would that be the appropriate response or a way to engage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think social media, it's all about influence. You know, I think we have all seen that. We've seen the power of social media in our faces every day, for good and for evil, you know. And I think let's be the good, you know, on social media. But yeah, it's all about influence. And you know, if you're coming at it from an advocacy standpoint and you are trying to push forward policies and funding and legislation that, you know, to achieve what you're trying to achieve for mental health, that is an opportunity, you know, and where you can gain influence and I think educate, you know, so much of it is about education, but if you've got followers, if you've got friends, and you can bring that to the table, then that is a great place to do it.
Okay, great. What
and
are
to
some,
add, you know, I think it's probably appropriate too to, if you don't know where a legislator stands, you know, ask them where they stand. You could ask them nicely, you know, this is what we're pushing for. Can we count on your support? You know, please take a look at this. And I think that's fine too. And if you know that they are supportive of your agenda, call them out for that. Thank them for it. Give them kudos. You know, make sure other people know that they're supportive of the things that you're pushing for and why that's meaningful. And you know, that gives them, that is good PR for them. You know, if they're public on a position, then they're not going to have any problem getting praise for that.
okay. All right, so let's talk about the reverse. We just had a poll pop up that we'd like you to fill out. Not you, Christy, but the attendees here, just to gauge what you've learned during this session. So if you could just at your leisure fill out this poll, we appreciate it. So let me ask about the flip side. What if a legislator is opposed to an issue? Do you call them out for that? And how do you handle that without looking like a jerk, quite frankly?
Well, so I think you can call out that they're not supportive and that they would, I think the nice way to do that is you can engage them in the facts. You can engage them, you know, help educate them about others who are supportive and why. Educate them on what that could, if they would get on board and this could pass, what could that mean for their constituencies? You know, if there are others in that legislator's influence sphere that you could leverage, you know, as part of that, I think, you know, that could work also. You know, for example, if you know that there is a high profile mental health issue or supporter in their district, for example, maybe just call that to their attention, you know, and get others to weigh in for, please consider changing your mind for these reasons. So, and make them defend it, you know, in a nice way. And I think there is a nice way to do it. And that nice way to do it is, I think, by keep in mind, be factual, be kind, don't rant, don't be the one picking fights, but be the one that is coming to the table in a non-emotional way, which I think is especially, important with mental health issues, because there's so much emotion involved in that, just inherently.
Right, right. And then what I often see is people then start fighting amongst themselves in the chat area, the comment area, and then the main person who posted is just sort of lost in the shuffle and becomes this fight amongst all the other
Oh,
people.
yeah, that's not fun, but it does happen a lot, especially I've had that happen on my own personal Facebook page. I'm like, I'm just gonna stay out of, they're fighting, and I'm not gonna get involved in the fight of like several people, even though it's on my feed, but yeah.
Right. And I often tell people, remember that if you are known as a member of NAMI, you're representing not only your local affiliate, but the state organization and the national group. You don't want to be, the agitator. I mean, let me back. It's okay to be an agitator in some ways, but as long as you're respectful, but you don't want to misrepresent the entire organization and give them a bad name.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, we've probably all done this, even if you're writing an email to someone or a text message to someone, and you write something first, and then you're like, okay, I better tamp that down. And then you edit it to something that is a lot more diplomatic. I think diplomacy is a great thing to keep in mind when you're coming at these things, from a representing, NAMI in an official capacity. Because people can't, I mean, people might attack you for it anyway, but they can't point a finger that you are, that you're a part of a problem, if you're being respectful and you're just sticking to the facts, and, respecting other people's opinions while doing your best to maybe shift them. I think it puts you in a position of power, I think, but.
So this is a good segue into the do's and don'ts of posting, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, Instagram. What are some do's and don'ts that you would recommend?
Okay, well, I said a few of them already, but you mentioned, both of our roots in journalism, and of course that was a long time ago and it's changed a lot, but I still am a big believer in facts. And I'm a believer in being factual, because I think the facts ultimately win out. So be factual. I think be kind. I think it's okay to call out good and bad behaviors, which we also sort of touched on. I mentioned don't rant. Nobody likes a ranter. Don't pick fights. And don't even engage in fights on an emotional level. Again, you can maybe contradict people or correct the record if someone is out there saying things that are absolutely untrue and not factual. Then I think it's probably part of maybe even your job to correct the record in that way, and speak the truth. And also, I think don't get personal. Don't take pot shots at people. I don't think that's going to advance the cause, at all. And I think on the kind of do side, do follow your legislators, follow them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, follow them on LinkedIn, anywhere that they are that you also are, follow them. Do like and comment on their posts, do watch who they're following, do watch who they're retweeting or reposting or who they're engaging with, and do watch the conversations that are going on their channels around those issues that you care about. Because I think that can give you some insight into who are they listening to, and then what are other people saying, especially, important if they're engaging in conversations about your issues. And then it also can help give you ideas about others that you might engage with or that you might follow as well, that you might not even know that that person or that organization exists. So it allows you to expand your own, network. I think do tag them in posts, that you want them to see, or so maybe you're sharing a news article or a news story that was published, or you're just resharing somebody else's post, but it's especially important to you. Feel free to then tag those legislators that you want to be sure see that, in the post, and use their handle. That's the way to do that. And you could do multiple, tags. So that's an opportunity to make sure they're seeing what you're writing about, or maybe you're even giving them praise for something that they've done and that's been reported. And so you can call them out by tagging them.
Can you explain the difference between a handle and a tag?
So yes, on Facebook, you're tagging them because that's what Facebook allows you to do. If you're tagging that,
It's like just put their name. You're typing in their name, and then it shows
you
up.
type in the @ symbol and their name, and it will pull it up. And so on Facebook, that's tagging them. In Twitter, you do the same thing. You do the @ symbol and type in their handle, their Twitter handle, and it will find them and include their handle on the Twitter post. You can do that same thing in both LinkedIn as well as Instagram. Instagram, you can do it, both ways. You could tag them in a picture, or you could also, if you're writing copy that's going along with your post, then you could tag them in using their Instagram handle as well. Did that
Yes.
Explain it? Okay.
So I just gave an example to everybody. A shout out to @GovBillLee, because that's his handle, right? That's his, his @GovBillLee for not cutting mental health in his budget. Well, okay, I misspelled budget, but you want to spell that right in a in a post. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Good. Do you have time to take any questions? I mean, I think between the two of us, you and I can kind of navigate some of the questions. So if you have any questions for me or Christy, you can type them in the chat box. So what I'm going to be doing in the PowerPoint that I'm getting ready to give is showing people how to establish themselves and get a following as an individual and as an affiliate, because NAMI Tennessee has about 20 affiliates across the state, and there's an opportunity to really raise the profile of the affiliate. And if you want to raise your own profile as a mental health advocate. So on Facebook, I have my own personal Elisa LaPolte Facebook for 1,000 of my closest friends. And then I also have one called Elisa LaPolte Mental Health Storyteller. And that's the one where I try to post articles about mental health, anything about advocacy, storytelling, because it kind of enhances my role at NAMI Tennessee as the advocacy and policy director. So 2 different Facebook accounts, 2 different strategies, 2 different purposes. So one is, hey, here's a cute picture of my dogs when we went hiking Sunday. And then the other is, here's a bill that we're concerned about with teachers who has a story to tell. So yeah. Christy, are you still there? Oh, there you are. Okay.
I am. I see Tony raising her hand.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Hold on.
Thank you. I just wanted to, this is not really a question, but an observation. Many of the do's and don'ts that were mentioned would seem to me that they would be also applicable to sending letters or emails to legislators, even if you don't do Facebook, which I don't do. So I was jotting some of those down because I think they're very important in that other venue also, besides social media.
I think that's a great point, Tony. And I'm a big advocate of repurposing content across every channel. So, you know, to your point, like not everybody, I still think, and Elisa Laporte and I have a podcast that I recorded with her on some of these topics that is actually live, and we'll be promoting it on social media this week, Elisa. But in that, she and I were talking about the power of letter writing is still very real, especially for legislators. And I can tell you, as someone that sat in the governor's office, you know, the people that, you know, the most letters and the most phone calls, and now also, you know, social media, they are tracking those. Their staff is tracking those. And if they hear from you, and the more they hear from you, then you will get noticed and you will get attention. So if you write a letter, go ahead and you also have social media channels, go ahead and pull pieces out of that content. And, you know, you're going to have to maybe make it shorter and pithier for social media. And then vice versa. If you see content out there, or you've got content that you've developed for social, flip it into a letter. Do, you know, give it surround sound, but every channel matters. And letter writing, and I don't know this for a fact, but probably good old fashioned phone calls still work too. Yeah.
Yes, and I think
know
even
letter
more.
writing does.
Yes, yes, and I think even more so since the Capitol, for all practical purposes, is shut down to the public. You know, they are letting some lobbyists in, but that personal connection through letter writing is in phone calls are even more important now.
That does remind me, I did want to just emphasize that social media, there is a social component on it, and you actually, you know, can create relationships on social media. So if you are, you know, you're following people and maybe you never comment at all, but you like stuff that they're posting, they pay attention to that. They see that, they begin to say, oh, you know, I know Elisa, I know Tony, I know Brenda. They like everything I post. So they kind of feel like they know you, even though they don't. And so you can create relationships on social media as well. So, and also know that there's, for probably every one person that, for every 10 likes that maybe someone gets on a post or one retweet, there's probably like 100 more people that see that and never say a thing. They're quiet, and we call them, you know, jokingly stalkers, but people are seeing what you're posting. And so sometimes you may not feel like you're having an impact, but a lot of people are seeing it. So you may be reaching far more people than just the legislator.
So Kelly McCrary had a question, and and by the way, thank you, Tony. Great question. Kelly, if you
Yes.
are able to unmute. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fire
Thank you. I joined in late, so my apologies first off. So today, as I was getting ready for this, through email from NAMI, I received, you know, reach out to your legislators about the teacher issue. So it was my first attempt. So me as an underprivileged, educated person that truly wants to advocate, the very first thing is all the names pop up. I'm like, well, I don't know my level of governments. And I mean, for me, speaking just individually, I didn't know who to select to write an email to or a letter. There was just this list of all, you know, where it's broke down, I guess, in district. And it overwhelmed me immediately, you know, because most of us advocates are dealing with loved ones with special needs, and sometimes multiple people with special needs. So I closed it, and I didn't move forward. But I am one of the ones that share everything NAMI puts out. But trying to speak to the people, the people like me, you know, I thought, well, okay, just don't worry about the local stuff. Go straight to the top. If you can write a letter to the main one, then do it. Because again, it's not just my area of where I live, but I have other loved ones in other counties and other districts. And I've been shut down before in some areas. It's like, well, you don't live in this area, so you don't have a right to talk about this area. And me say, well, I do have loved ones in that area. But that's happened to me before. So I just want to bring that to light, just from a yay sayer over here, a little Southern girl that with no education. When I pulled that up, I didn't even know where to start with the names, and I just closed it back down. Although it was something I wanted to do, it's just I would have to start educating myself to be more of a better advocate than I am, because I would like to write people and legislators. So just some FYI.
Yeah, Kelly, and this is Elisa. I appreciate the feedback. I'm the one that sent out that big list, and I broke it down into the members of the two committees that are hearing the bill. One's hearing it today, so that's why there were a lot of legislators. There's actually like 140 legislators, 130. I can't. Yeah, 130 something, 132 legislators. So at least we didn't put all 132 out there. So, and I would say that you are a good advocate. You're here, you have passion, I can already tell, and just jump in where you can. And it's okay. And yes, you can absolutely write to other legislators outside your district because of your passion and because you never know when you might influence them. So thank you. Christy, do you want to add anything, or?
Well, I am seeing that a lot of times, you know, we don't know who our legislators are, but you can just Google or whatever search engine you use. You can Google the Tennessee legislature, and you can, you know, there's a search component that's there for members, and so you can type in your address, and it will tell you who your senators and representatives are. And so that is a place to start, you know, just to know, okay, well, at a minimum, I could at least reach out to my senators and my representatives. And so if you don't know, then that's a good place to find out who those people are. And if your local representatives then aren't on the committees that are important, they might actually help send you to the right people, or at least they're still going to, you know, it's still going to be important to them because you're one of their constituents. But I just was going to mention that.
Yes, thank you. And I did use the Find My Administrator link. Again, it's just if you have several loved ones, I've got other ones all across Tennessee and friends of loved ones. So it's, you know, it's all across Tennessee for me. And so I just wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. We appreciate it. Let's connect after this because I would like to put you to work if I could. Let's put all of you to work with.
You can just give her 4 names to focus on.
Yeah,
that would be great. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's see, we had something in the chat here from Marta. Thanks for, oh, actually, let me go back to Kate. When you talk about letter writing, does this include emails? Are you specifically talking about old-fashioned letters with stamps through the USPS? Yes, both. So what Christy was mentioning earlier was, you know, people do appreciate the handwritten notes sent through the post office with a stamp. It gives them something tangible, especially since we're not meeting in person this year. It reminds them that there is a person behind the words.
And I would say that, yeah, emails are just as effective. They are keeping account on how much, like, here's how it works. If there is an issue and they're needing to take a stance on it, if they're going to track those, how many calls, how many letters, how much social media conversation is going on around specific bills and specific topics. And that is how they track it and they report it. So that's how that works on their end. So they are keeping count. So they might say we received 100 letters and we received 1,000 emails and social media is blowing up. And here's what those numbers look like. So, you know, and then all that, combines together to really create noise and buzz. I'm probably never going to be the one that actually writes a letter because I'm terrible about writing a letter and going to the post office. But I'll write an email, I'll fire off an email. That's just easier for me. I'm more comfortable there. And things that I really am passionate about and believe in, or I want to help someone that I know is trying to push something forward, I'll then, comment or share on social.
Yeah. And it's also important on email and text or social media to sit back and breathe, take a minute before you hit the send button. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of conversation about this Teacher Discipline Act that NAMI Tennessee's working on. And I was going to send an email. We're trying to negotiate some amendments to this bill. And I was very against this particular amendment that was being discussed. And I had to sit back and say, okay, well, actually with Jeff Layden's help and assistance, like, let's word this a little differently. And sometimes, like with Jeff, I will say, Jeff, this is what I'm thinking about saying in an email. What do you think? And he'll say, well, I think we should maybe tone it down a bit, because I'm ready to go. I'm ready to kill bills and stuff like that. But it needs to be done in a really respectful, diplomatic manner. And so that's important. So Marta says, is it okay to send a text, media post plus email at the same time? Christy, I think you spoke to that about all channels. Yeah.
I'm a proponent of surround sound. That's what I like to call it. So if you're willing to do all of those things, great. If you feel, it is hard to put yourself out there on social these days, and people are so, you can think something, if you don't want to put yourself out there on social, that's completely understandable. And it can be scary. So write the letter, because no one's gonna, exactly the person that you want to see it is gonna see it. So again, I just think whatever you're most comfortable with, I'm like, hey, let them come at me on social. That'll give me an opportunity to show them that I can be civil. But if you're not comfortable with that, I think stick to whatever channel you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with all of them, use all of them. That's probably my best advice.
Great. And Marta did speak to that in a comment in the chat room, or the chat box. I'm a little hesitant to post on social media. People get triggered easily, but I'm willing to learn more about how to do it in a pleasant manner. So it sounds like, Marta, that you are interested in some further training, and I'm wondering if others in the group are interested in some additional training after this about how to specifically word things. And if you're interested, you can put yes in the chat box, because I think there might be
some yeses pop up.
Yeah, this is great. And in the PowerPoint that I'm getting ready to do, I will walk through some sample posts and some different approaches like humor or factual and things like that. Ooh, we're getting lots of yeses to additional trainings. So yes, we can do this. So Christy, thank you so much for being here. We'll catch up later. And thanks again.
Thank you for having me, and good luck, everybody. I'm very, I love the work you guys are doing. So good luck on your influence.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Like I mentioned, Christy and I have known each other for more than 20 years, and I thought she'd be a really good person to speak to some of the challenges and concerns with social media. So I'm going to start a PowerPoint. Let's see. Okay, let's see, I'll get this down. Okay, so here's some social media tips that I pulled together from a few different sources. So this is actually one that I found from NAMI Memphis. And these tips, there's about 7 or 8 tips I have. The first one is be visual. So when you post on Twitter, Instagram requires you to be a visual because it works with pictures more than words. But this is a Facebook post from NAMI Memphis. We know that when we add pictures, infographics like this, that your post is more likely to be seen. It's also more likely to be shared with other people and picked up by other groups and retweeted or reposted. I will say that NAMI.org, our national organization's website, will provide infographics, Facebook banners, things that you can download and post on your personal social media sites and your affiliate sites. So watch for those when it is Mental Health Month coming up in May. They're really good about providing those kind of graphics for us. So the next tip is to be retweetable. You want to keep your tweets and your Facebook posts short. Sometimes if it's too complicated, your message gets lost. So here's one that I came up with. Half of all lifetime cases of mental illness show signs by age 14. Have your teen screened. So that might be something for Mental Health Month. You could also provide a link to NAMI's information page about teen mental health facts or adolescent mental health facts. When you do so this is the hashtag here. Oops, sorry. When you do this, you also want to type in like your affiliate name. NAMI TN is ours. Try to have the hashtag to get more attention to your posts. Okay. It's also advisable to retweet other people's posts. I think the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services does a really good job with not only factual posts and tweets, but inspirational. So when you start retweeting them, they're really good at watching who's following them and who retweets their stuff. So I would highly recommend following them and having them follow you. So your goal is to get other people to start following you. And when they follow you, they start paying attention to you. So that includes legislators. You want to be positives. Please stay away from any negativity. And here was a tweet that I saw when I was doing my research for this. My dentist told me to open up and now I can't stop crying. Mental health. It's okay to be funny. You need to be careful because you don't want to have too much humor that's a little off color or offensive when it comes to mental illness. It's a fine line, but there are some opportunities for us to smile and laugh. But I did like this inspirational quote. Good mental health is a journey, not a destination. And, we know that recovery can sometimes be a long process. So negativity rarely enhances your influence online. In fact, it will turn people off. Okay. You want to inspire, you want to offer hope. So these kind of posts will do that. Also, when you post, it's recommended to do it in the way that you speak. Like how you might say it to your kids or your best friend. Just remember that you're trying to portray yourself to your audience, to the public, and doing it in the manner in which you speak is really helpful for people to get to know you a little bit better. So the next tip is to establish your constituency. Another way to say this is get your fan club up and going. So this is an actual Facebook post that I did last week after Commissioner Marie Williams of the department came and spoke to us at our opening Days on the Hill event. She just rocked it. And there were so many people on our Zoom call. And what I was noticing it appeared that a lot of people joined because they had worked with her. They were out in the mental health community as providers. And so I gave a shout out to her. And you see the language in white is because I tagged the department so they would see this post, okay? I did the little @ sign and found their name. And so I know that my audience is her friends and providers, and I complimented them. So many of you had great questions for the commissioner, and we appreciate her spending time with us today. Okay, that post had a reach of more than 1,100 people. Because I looked at there's a way to dig down and look at the statistics on Facebook, and there were 70 reactions. That could mean likes, that could mean reposts, or like forwarding it basically, or comments. And it was really interesting to see that post pop up more than many others that we've done recently. So know who's reading your stuff is what this means. Know your fan club. So this is a little bit about what Christy was saying, build influence around issues. So I looked at NAMI, Minnesota, because they do a great job up there with advocacy. That's my go-to state organization to watch sometimes. And here are a couple Facebook posts that they had. Like, look how they used facts. And the one to the left is around Black History Month. So they are using their influence in giving the facts about, suicide, the third leading cause of death for African Americans aged 15 to 24 years old. So they're establishing themselves as a credible source and providing information and noting that it's Black History Month. And then here's another one. It's Eating Disorders Awareness Week. And I personally didn't know that there was such a week. I just learned something. And they provided an infographic, and I couldn't get it on this screen. Again, educating and showing themselves as an influencer and a credible source of information. Definitely avoid politics. And mental health is bipartisan. You don't have to be a Democrat or Republican to have a mental health challenge. It affects everybody. So as I mentioned, when we opened this training session, it cuts across all demographics, religions, socioeconomic levels, and just don't go there. We have enough to overcome just with mental health. We don't need to talk about presidential politics, impeachment, none of that. Let's just focus on mental health and trying to make some improvements where we can. So remember your audience, and this goes back to knowing who your fan club is. I'm surprised with how many young people follow me. Young people like in my hometown, for instance. So I've got to remember that to some of them, I'm a role model, and I need to be real careful with what I post. So you also need to remember that when you post something, it lives online eternally. Like yes, you could take it down, but if somebody's done a screenshot, it's there. So you always want to be respectful of other people, like Christy and I were talking about, because that goes a long way. And also write every post and message with the understanding that the elected official and the general public can see it, and they can also respond to it. Okay, so it's out there. Here's some common hashtags to use when you are, whether you're posting for yourself or as your affiliate. The Vote for Mental Health is one that the NAMI national organization uses during election time. Not Alone is something that we use all year round. In Mental Health for All, that's another one. You also want to use your hashtag like NAMI Knoxville, hashtag NAMI Memphis. So you can start, like, it starts tracking and you can see like who's posting and using your name when you do the hashtag. So that's it. Let me stop the screen share. Okay, so we do have a few more minutes, and I want to give you a few more tips on when you have a legislative meeting. And again, I know that we are in a pandemic and they're not meeting in person, but for instance, I'm having a Zoom call with a senator next week. Okay, you can actually post on Facebook and Twitter that you met with a legislator or had a conversation, and establish yourself there as a person that, hey, I got a meeting with this senator and here's what they said. So you want to know your legislators handle, their name. Like Governor Lee uses @GovBillLee, and so you just kind of search on Facebook and Twitter for their names, and their little logo, their slogan will come up for their name. And so, you know, it's perfectly appropriate to, you know, say that you met with a legislator, and but you might want to get permission from the legislator's office first and just see if it's okay. In normal times, we would take a picture with the legislator and post it online. You know, you want to talk to the staff, to their aide, and see if that's okay. You want to keep your tweets and posts positive or neutral, like we talked earlier. Don't be negative. And as far as guidelines, I looked at NAMI National's website, and they don't have a lot of guidelines in terms of what to do and what not to do. We've covered all of them here, quite frankly. So I would just ask that you remember that when you post on social media about mental health and you mention NAMI, just know that your words carry additional weight, because, you know, we are a mental health organization, so people will be paying attention to that. We have some time for questions, and Brenda points out that many people are not familiar with how Twitter and some of the social media sites work. We provide some resources. Brenda, great point. Sometimes I have to remember that not everybody is a social media hound like I am. So thank you for that. I'm seeing that we have an opportunity here to provide additional information. So yes, we'd be happy to provide those materials. Okay, so, I think we had a question by Jeff Layden, our Executive Director of NAMI Tennessee.
Not a question, but thank you all for being here. I just wanted to point out two things to make your social media life easier. If you have a page, or if your affiliate has a page, that NAMI Tennessee posts things that you can just share onto your page. But also NAMI National, there's 3 levels of NAMI. There's a national organization, Elisa is part of the state, as am I. We have local affiliates and just at-large NAMI members, maybe not even with an affiliate. We have toolkits for various times of year in addition to the legislative piece. So legislative, Elisa will put things out in her communications, so be sure that you get them. And Elisa, you may want to remind people if they don't get your advocacy emails. But also, when it's Minority Mental Health Month, when it's Mental Illness Awareness Week, Mental Health Month, voting at the national, federal level, or just before all the elections, trying to get people registered and voting, there's national material, and there's sample Twitter messages and sample Facebook posts, and we can share those with you. If you're not able to, you can find them yourself. Just go to NAMI.org, and if you're a member, you have a login, and you just put in Mental Health Month. But if you have trouble, you need help with those kind of things, you can write to info@namitn.org. You can write to Elisa, but info@nami NamiTN.org will go to our office manager, David Gomina, gets those and will send them to the proper person. So we help you with content. And also, I look sometimes to affiliates and other states, and I don't know if NAMI Coffee County is here, but the couple ladies from NAMI Coffee County did these cute coffee talks about being caregivers, and I put it on the NAMI Tennessee Facebook. So I also will look at other states, and if they have something now and then when I can't sleep because I'm worrying about NAMI, I might look at what some other states are saying on their Facebook or their Twitter, and then I'll share that. Or there's a thing called NAMI Communicate, which is from the National Office Communications Department. And you don't have to make it all up is kind of what I'm telling you, that there's good stuff out there. And then if you tag us, like if your affiliate does a Facebook post and you put the @namitn.org, I think, or do you have to write out NAMI Tennessee? I'm not sure. Lisa may know. But if you put our name in it, it shows up on our Facebook, and that's fine.
Yeah, those are great points. If you have a post that you are particularly proud of and want us to share it, just send me an email, or if you're friends with me on Facebook, send me a message and say, hey, can you repost this? So I'm going to send you namitn.org. Here is my advocacy at namitn.org. So we should have had a poll come up because we wanted to measure your education from the beginning of the session to the end. So if you could fill that out, that would be great. And we do have time for a few more comments or questions. I'm interested in finding out if people are wanting to promote their affiliate, or if people are more interested in learning how to be a mental health advocate online, like on social media. So advocate or affiliate, if you could type that in the chat box, I'd be interested. Okay, so Alicia says advocate. Alicia probably gets, her name is spelled like I do. I get called Alicia. She probably gets called Elisa. So we have advocate. Oh, okay. So we've got a lot of you that want to personally be an advocate on social media. And Mary Nell says both. This is good. So Jeff, I don't want to overcommit myself, especially during the legislative session, but I think there's an opportunity here for some additional training. Yeah. Okay, so this is good. This is good. And what I can do is forward you so a lot of times I will get information from the national office because I'm the policy and advocacy director. They will give us sample tweets, sample posts around advocacy, and I can definitely forward that to you all. They do a really great job with that.
Yeah, I would just say that you may get information different ways, because the e-news goes to most people, and then there's an advocacy mail list that's slightly smaller. But then, Elisa, you also have a identified advocates like smaller list that only goes to people that say they want to do advocacy work. And so if people aren't on that list, they should contact you.
Yes, so they should contact me at advocacy@namitn.org and get on my, it's my policy advisory committee. So these are the people who maybe want to get more involved with legislation or policy or just advocacy in general. So I'm going to type this again. There is the best email for me.
One more commercial, if I may.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
we're in the legislative session, but advocacy is an important part of NAMI all year. And for example, in Tennessee, there are 7 policy and planning councils that are regional policy and planning councils. And that's where the Department of Mental Health looks at legislative needs and needs assessment and a lot of sharing of information at the local and regional level. And it would be great if we had an advocacy person at every one of those. So we had sent that list out at a prior training. I don't have it handy right now, but there's 7 regions. And if you're not part of one and you'd like to be, write to Elisa or me through info@namitn.org, and we will give you the name of who operates that in your community. And they only meet quarterly, and they're meeting by Zoom now. And we need more people that have lived experience with mental illness or that are caregivers to participate in those. So that's also kind of through the year, and you can tweet and Facebook about them also.
Oh, Marta says that she's already a member of Region 7. Great, Marta. Congratulations. Yeah, and the beauty of that is to have that voice on the regional planning councils. It gives the planners, so to speak, an idea of whether or not people are getting the services they need. You're in the position to say, hey, we had a waiting list for beds last week at this facility, or we're having a hard time getting appointments with therapists. There's a 6-month waiting list. And the people who do the mental health planning on the structure and the system need to know that. So Tony, let's see.
Yes, I had to miss yesterday, and I believe you were discussing this teacher bill yesterday and had to miss that. Would you be able to send me all the information you have about this bill, what it is, where I can find it, how I can read it, and so forth? I would really appreciate that.
Yes, I'd be happy to. I just updated our fact paper on that this morning, and there is a House committee vote on that today. We anticipate that it will pass, but this is just, an initial step. We've got some meetings coming up, but yes, I can send you that.
Thank you.
Now we'll be sending out this similar information to everybody in the next day or so. So thank you. Okay, so we're at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, depending on where you live in Tennessee. So I want to thank you for being here. I thought this was a really great session. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up. And I'm encouraged that so many more of you want to learn about social media. And there's just so much we can do to get the word out through social media. So thanks for being advocates, and have a great day. Bye.